G'day guys, in this episode we're going to finish up on those FG F6 headlights that I've got. Going to do a little bit different on this edit, a little bit more music, more fast forwarding because it gets a little bit boring. So we're going to get straight into it. I'm pretty happy with these, how they came out, but as you might see in one of the videos, in one of the end clips, the high beam sits out a little bit too far, so I've actually got to modify them severely to pop them back in, but that might be in a very future episode because I really don't want to pull them apart. So let's get into it, eh? Alright, so while those painted parts are drying in primer, I'm just going to run you through basically how these will be mounted up, and I have come into a bit of a small problem, but something we can overcome. So this is basically how they mount. So they sit inside. This is where the cables are going to go. So I'll probably just put a little bit of black heat shrink around that so it hides the obviously red and black for that side. This side I'm going to drill my own hole as well. And obviously you do this all before you primer and paint, because obviously I don't know what these are made out of. They're like a fiberglass or something very hard, and dust goes bloody everywhere. So the issue I have just encountered is on this side. So this is the H7 side, this is the H4 side. So if we grab a H4 adapter, and my little baggie, H4 adapter sits in like so, and then you've got the nut. Now there's plenty of room to fit the socket on the back, which is this, a 27mm, plenty of room. But on this side we use a H7 adapter, which is basically one of these. So same as a H7 base. Now when you put that in and you try and do that, there's many things in the way. So these two support parts there, which basically held on the wire as well, which went that way, and it screwed in and held the cable down when you clipped it in. So basically you're gonna have to modify the back of these. So you're gonna have to cut those off completely. And then the other issue is this section here. So you can't actually turn the nut to tighten it up. So the next mod you're going to have to do is basically take off that whole lip around the whole thing. So this can fit on that and you can tighten it. Otherwise it ain't going to happen, Jan. So while the paint's drying, not driving, I am going to go grab my renovator, which is that thing, and cut those off, cut around that shroud, and then hopefully that should be enough to make it fit. And then obviously drill a hole in that side as well for all the cables to go through for the low beam, which is for the big boy. And yeah, then by that time I think we'll be pretty close to getting ready to paint and then prime these as well, and obviously the shrouds. Well, everything's just falling apart. So this is basically the low beam shroud. So you got a 100mm one there, and then you got a smaller one in the front. So the smaller one's just got a few tabs on the inside which you just push in, and easily enough pops out. And when I say easy, I mean not so easy. So that just removes like that, so you can paint this without getting your LEDs or SMDs, halos, whatever, covered in paint as well. So let's get into this and pull this one apart. There's like a support bracket that goes around it. which I have no idea how they got that halo ring through that. They must have crimped this after they put it through. So that's my blue one, so we'll put those two aside. Now this is basically ready to get sanded down and shot with some primer and then painted in my magnificent white colour for the Falcon. So what we'll do next is we'll pull apart the other one and then put those aside, get ready to paint, and then I will put these and get these ready to be modified. Let's do it. Let there be light. Oh! The power of video and Ryobi tools. Hashtag not a shameless plug, just like Ryobi gear. So first off we need to take off this hardware, which is just a couple of screws, pretty easy. Holy mackerel, that came at me. It'll come off. How easy is that? Look at that. The old swapperoonie. And I got like a renovator sort of thing with a plastic and wood blade on the top, which does do what I need to do here. This stuff is fiberglass. From cutting it, it just comes out really fine and dusty. So I'm just going to add some music because it's going to be super loud. And hopefully I don't stuff it up.
Never gonna give you up. I'm never gonna let you go. Never gonna say goodbye. No. Never gonna give you up. I'm never gonna let you go. Never gonna say goodbye. No. Never gonna give.
Alright, so super messy job. It actually blunted the blade. That was a lot harder to cut through. So I've left a lip here. So when I put the H7 adapter in, it still slots up hard against something, so I can't offset this at all in any wrong direction. But it's also low enough that I can still get the nut on the back and do it up. So I'm just going to do a quick cleanup of all of this, and then we'll get back to it. Alright, so I've just cleaned up everything. I have my drill now. I need to drill out the allocation for the wiring. So, and we have to do that on this side here. So most of the wiring is basically going to be at the base of the projector itself. So what we do is we grab a projector and we grab the housing, do a quick line up. Perfect. Right. Let's give that a quick vacuum again. Alright guys, so I'm just sort of halfway through editing this episode that you're watching now. And I'm currently at this part here. So at the start of the video I said I have to modify these again. So basically this part here, I'm actually going to have to cut that off completely. So I've done it to the XR6 headlight I've got here. And you can see how that is sunken in so much more. It's because if I just pull this out real quick, is I've cut off the back of it. So basically that would be sinking it in further, so it would look a hell of a lot cleaner. So I will do that in a future episode. I just really don't want to pull these apart when I just finish them. I just want to see how these products work and if they fail at all. So I'll get back to it, guys.
Why do I feel like I linger between the words to say the words to remember. Now we're here to take control over your body and over your soul.
For the indicators, because I'm going to black them out, is just VHT engine enamel, GM satin black. So it gives it a nice uniform finish. Alright, moment of truth. Let's get some colour into these.
Now we won't go back home today, until the very last hour. We still got a few more days to slay, it's gonna get so much louder. Now we're here to take control over your body and over your soul. We're gonna take back everything and lose it all. Lose it all. Lose it all. Feel it in your arms. Feel it in your
I've started to rub down these shrouds. Massive pain in the ass. Not keen to ever do this again. So I've done the two big ones onto the two smaller ones. So I got to get all the shiny stuff off so the primer can stick. So once I've rubbed them all down, I'm going to shoot to painting them with the primer. So stay tuned. Alright guys, so I've just got all the shrouds wiped down and cleaned, all mounted, just so it's a little bit easier for me to handle and spray. Yeah. Same thing again, engine enamel.
I wonder what went wrong today, Why do I feel like I linger between the words
Right, this is coat 2 of the primer. Alright, time to put some colour on. I'm pretty sure I showed you guys anyway, so don't worry. Alright, so we'll let that one dry, and off camera I have done one of the reflectors. It's the one I did the JB weld on a lot sooner, so that's all primed and ready to go. So all the shrouds are all painted. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some clear. So I've got some concept paint, super gloss clear here. I don't know if I've got enough to finish these, but I'm going to give it a red hot go and get some glossy shininess happening. Alright guys, so I've done a little bit of work off camera because a lot of it's just boring assembly sort of stuff, but basically I've started on the wiring. So I've got both HIDs in, I've mounted all the control boxes, all the diodes and stuff like that for the LEDs and halos and stuff like that. I've made up my own little T10 adapter that I can just plug into the factory loom for both the halos. So when accessories are turned on, they both turn on. Now the only thing I need to wire in extra are these white wires. So what they do is when I turn my low beam on, they'll actually turn off any of the halos so they don't overheat. What else have I got? I've got my RGB demon eye for the main projector as well. And I've done the main earth as well, which I'm just going to potentially just earth out to the body with a standard eyelet, and that's pretty much it. So I got all the wires basically coming out of one area, keeps that one nice and clean and neat. So flip them around, so that's them mounted in. Basically all I got to do next is mount them to the car, put the car on the ground, and then you'll physically have to turn these because these are basically on an angle like that, both of them. So you twist them so they are completely level. Like in my previous videos on like the Mazda Bravo headlights, I had to tweak them a little bit. These you have to tweak a lot. I don't know why they put a H7 and the H4s in such weird angles, but it's not just a straightforward throw it in, seal it back up and away you go. You physically will have to refit them to a car and turn them on and align them properly. So fast forwarded, we've got pretty much all the wiring sorted. I've added all my little plugs that I need to do. I've currently got it hooked up, and I'm just going to show you guys what I mean about aiming these lights. So they're my Parkers, which is dual halo. The only thing I'm not too happy about is that's like a warm white and this is like a cool white, but to To be honest, I don't really think I'm going to care that much about it. It'd be good if they match, but you know, nothing's perfect. Then we go low beam. So low beam is just, nope, that's high beam. That's low beam. So low beam is just the middle two, which is normal standard. And then this is the line here. So when I first fitted them, they were like basically diagonal. It was ridiculously off. So the way to do that is you basically just firmly grip the projector and you just twist it. I don't want to do it again because obviously I've twisted it where I'm happy with it. And I've just blocked off that and then looked at that line and basically just tried to match it best I can. And once you've done that, you got high beam, which the little flap inside flips down. This one I've removed the flap because I don't need it, and that is just straight high beam on this one. So high beam, high beam, high beam, high beam. And compared to what I had before, the light is just a lot more, what's the word I'm looking for? Directional. The last set of lights I had, which is those ones, which I had some Philips LEDs in them, it just wasn't working well. I wasn't happy with them, so hence why I'm doing the upgrade. So that's basically how that happens. We'll then jump into the video right now, which I'll be running some butyl sealant around these, and then we can look at sealing them up. Alright guys, so I put the headlights apart, done up all the nuts. I put a tiny bit of JB weld around the nut itself, just in case it does vibrate loose. It won't ever fall off, it physically can't go loose again. So at this point, we grab some rubber sealant, which I've got some here. So this stuff here, this is what they call rubber butyl, and it's basically what a lot of your Japanese manufacturers will use because it's cheap and easy to work with. And basically you run it in the channel and it reacts really easily with heat. So once it gets hot, it gets really sticky, really pliable, so it's easy to pull headlight housings off. So I'm just going to give this a quick run through. So that's how it all looks. Now the next thing to do would be to just wipe everything down, get all the dust you physically can get off. Like I've got a little bit inside that housing there. And then we can look at putting those back on, throwing it in my homemade oven, squishing them together, and then mounting them to the car. So I'll do the other headlight and then I'll come back to you guys when I'm ready to throw them in the oven. Alright, so as you can hear, I've got the heat gun going just to get some preheat into the box. I've wiped down everything, I've wiped down that. So this is where we take one of the final steps in putting these headlights back together. Just to line them up best you can. Yeah, a little bit hard to sort of push them together because you've got sealant inside of them. grab some clamps to sort of keep some pressure and throw it in the oven. Alright, so I just got some clamps to keep a bit of pressure on it. I'm going to throw it into the box for about 5 minutes, pull it back out, squeeze it back together again, and then see how we go from there. So, trying to get it into that box. If I had a bigger box it would work, but getting it in there with the clamps on it didn't really work out. So what I've been doing is basically just heating up sections, putting clamps on it, which is pulling it back together, letting it cool down, moving up, and then doing another section. So as I said at the start of the video, I munted this end when I first pulled it apart, because I've never pulled one of these headlights apart without trying to break it, because the other one I didn't really care about. So I'm just going to use an extra bit of sealant through there. I'll probably use some sticker flex as well, just to seal it up. This part you don't actually see at all because it's hidden behind the front quarter panel. But yeah, basically, so I'm just going to work my way around that, and I'll come back to you when I'm all done. Alright, so it's the moment you all have been waiting for, the finished product. So as I said before, the only downside that I see is that how far it sits out. So that one there sits in quite far. So that one, I have to modify the back of it, chop the guts of it out, and then push it back. So for now, it's fine, it works. They're actually really, really good headlights compared to the other ones. But what I'll do is I'll throw up some photos that I got. It's really hard to take photos of them because the halos and that LEDs are actually quite bright. It's really hard to focus a camera onto them. So I'll throw some photos up now for you guys.